Okay, hi. I'm gonna do a quick lesson in step 2, sourdough bread. Okay, so I have my bowl here and my scale. And first I'm gonna mix the flour and the salt. It really just needs flour and salt and water and sourdough starter. So it wants 125 grams of flour. So just pour away. This is like a triple batch, so that's why it's a lot. This may not even be enough. Well, I think it might be just enough. Otherwise I went all over. Otherwise I have a whole other thing of flour here. Okay, salt. It actually needs quite a bit of salt at this quantity. I'm going to turn this to 0, 30 grams, so I'm just going to keep pouring. Sometimes I do just a little bit less. It feels like sometimes it's maybe a little bit too salty. 27 sounds good. Okay, so that's my flour and salt, and we're just going to sort of mix that a little bit. I'm honestly not even sure if you have to do this in 2 steps, but it wants the flour and the water with the sourdough starter separately. So I need 250, here's my starter, by the way. I'm doing a little video with all the nice bubbles. And I need 250 grams of that. If you do sourdough starter, it's important that you don't use all of it, or you'll never have any again. So you always have to, like when you feed it and grow it, you always have to put in enough so that you have enough left over. But honestly, I always feel terrible that I might not have enough, but it turns out you really just need even like a 1 spoonful of starter left over is enough. So, but I mean, look, so basically my thing is almost empty. You might want to throw it out, but that's all I need to like feed again, and I'll do that in a minute to, feed it, and that it immediately goes back in the fridge. So basically, if this weighs in, it might even be a little bit less, then I use 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water, mix it all up, and close it with my little lid, and put it back in the fridge, and that's it. So anyway, this is my little starter, and now that needs 750 grams of water. Which I warmed in my microwave a little bit because I don't like to take the water out of the tap because it's got chlorine, and so I've learned to take it from the fridge and then I have to warm it a little bit. Not much. It shouldn't be hot. It should just be lukewarm rather than fridge cold. So 750 of that. Not quite enough. You know what? The rest can be from the tap because I don't feel like reheating the water. It's going to be fine. I think mostly I just pay attention to when I feed my starter, that water I use from a jug, bottled water. I don't want to use tap water for that because I think that's how I killed my first starter. Who knows? Okay, 750 grams. And now we stir all that up. It's kind of like a little bit messy. Again, I'm not really sure that step is necessary. I think you might as well just pour everything in one bowl and go from there. But I don't know. I kind of thought maybe I should do it the right way, especially if I'm demoing it. So that's it. Well, not quite. So now you pour this into the big bowl. All the way. And that's that. And now and the cool thing with this particular recipe is you don't have to, knead it for like 10 minutes. That was just killing me. Although I now have a nice new KitchenAid, so I guess I could do that. But I really love this recipe the most anyway. So you just kind of stir it, and that's really the longest part of this whole process, I think, is just stirring this all up until it's all absorbed and not too much flour, like, you know, in clumps. You kind of want it to just all come together. So once it's all come together, hang on. Then it kind of looks like this. And then I'm going to stir it just a little bit more. But anyway, you just cover it with a kitchen towel and you set it aside on your counter and set your timer for 10 minutes. And I'll see you again then. Bye. Okay. Hi. It's me again. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to show you I refed my starter. So with that little smidgen of scrap that was in there at the end, I added, you know, it ended up being 45 grams, so I added 45 grams of water and 45 grams of flour, but honestly, you can just kind of like eyeball it. And that now can go straight back into the fridge. And you'll see that I used actually swapped out jars. This is a clean one, sort of. And you don't want to close this really tightly, like clamp it down or anything. You just kind of like lay it on top, and sometimes I go to my fridge and I just open it up a little bit because it draws from yeast in the environment, so it wants to like be able to do that. So if you shut it too tight, it'll get like, it'll form like a little bit of liquid on top, and it's not a really terrible thing either, but that means it's time to feed it again. Anyway, it won't rise as much as the other one did because it'll be in the fridge, but it will rise some, and that's normal. Anyway, hang on. Okay, so we got our starter ready for next time, and here's my dough. It still looks kind of scraggly like it did earlier, and now we want to fold it, and you're supposed to just fold it like 10 times. I'm going to use a little bit of water on my fingers. When your fingers are wet, it doesn't stick quite so bad because it's pretty sticky right now. So, and you kind of have to wash your hands. So anyway, you just take it, you sort of dig your hand under it and pull it up like this, and you fold it. And then you turn it a little bit, pull it up again, and fold it over. You turn it again a little bit, fold it, pull it, and fold it into the middle, or kind of like over to the other side. You know, it gets sticky. I didn't do a good job of wetting my hands, but it doesn't matter now. So 4, 5, this is just like a kneading process. 6, 7, 8, oops, 9, 10. Okay, it usually doesn't get so messy. I didn't do a good job of doing my hands, but got this little nifty scraper, and you can just sort of scrape it all off again, and you know, the rest you just sort of wash off. And that's it. We're gonna cover it back up. Ooh, lucky. Cover it back up, let it sit, and I'll see you again in 10 minutes. Okay, my friends, I'm back. I really should have worn something nicer and had my hair nicer today too, if I had known I was going to do a video for everybody to watch. So sorry for the frumpy look, but anyway, so I've skipped a few steps because my video editing couldn't keep up with the process. So I basically, that folding thing that I did after the first 10 minutes, you do that 4 times total. So you know, make your dough like I showed, you let it rest for 10 minutes, you fold it, which takes about 30 seconds, then you rest another 10 minutes and fold it, and you do that for a total of 4 times. So this is my 4th fold, so this will be my last fold. So let's go ahead and do it. I just wanted to show you how it looks much smoother now. I don't know if you can see, like it looked very scraggly at the beginning, and that's the beauty of it. Like you don't have to do a lot. You just let it rest in between, and then you do these folds, and boom, you have a dough that's actually nice and smooth. So last one, wet hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like counting on the tennis court. And actually you'll see it's a lot less messy this time because as the dough gets smoother, it also is less messy. So it's really easy. And that, like you said, like you saw, like I said, that just took about maybe 30 seconds to fold. So now towel goes back on and that's really it. Now I'm gonna put this in the fridge. Like my recipe actually says to leave it out on the counter for 6 to 8 hours until it's visibly risen. And I did that at the beginning, but I've since learned it gets a better sourdough type taste if you let it rise longer and in the fridge. And then the other beauty of that is like now I don't have to be on a schedule and constantly watch the dough and see how much has it risen and all of that. I just stick it in the garage fridge, and then tomorrow morning or even afternoon, whenever I feel like it, I'll come back and shape it and then we'll prove it again, but that'll be the next step. So anyway, so far it's pretty easy, I think. It's just like a lot of little busy steps interrupted by waiting times, and then, you know, I've unloaded the dishwasher and I've done laundry, I've folded laundry and things like that, so you can kind of like fill those little minutes of snippets of time pretty well. Or, you know, you're busy in your kitchen cooking anyway, so you just kind of do this on the side. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Bye. Hi, Ian. I kind of forgot to start, so I had already dumped my dough onto the counter. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. It really came straight out of the fridge. Ideally, I would have taken it out a little earlier to make it warm up, but I want to get a bread ready. So I just dumped it on a floured surface, and then I have my little baskets floured already, like with plenty of flour, all set up. This is a bigger one, and these are the two smaller ones. Let me see if I can get this back. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to make 3 breads out of this. Probably should put a little bit more flour on top because it's kind of sticky still. So I will make sort of a smaller. I eyeball this. You could also measure it on your kitchen scale. Normally you would just make 1 loaf and then you don't have this issue, but our family eats a lot of bread. So now I have sort of a blob over here, and then sticky, 2 blobs. So I'm just gonna sort of set some of these blobs a little bit away, the 2 smaller ones, and start with the bigger ones. So normally when you dump it, it comes out as a nice sort of round thing. Anyway, so you sort of want to fold this over a couple of times to get the air out. So you take it from the top, you fold it over, you take it, you stretch it from the side a little bit, fold it over again. You take the other side, you stretch it, you fold it over again. And then, oh, I didn't do the bottom yet. So you take it from the bottom and you bring it all the way back here. And sometimes you even pop like a little bit of a bubble. So now you can see it's more of a shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back one more time. What you want to do is you want to just give one side of the bread a really nice tight surface. So you kind of want to seal it wherever that seam is, where you just folded it over. And now you have sort of like a nice round taut surface on one side. And then you kind of like pull it. Let's see if I can put this more like that. Here we go. You kind of, with less flour, just kind of like pull it to seal that bottom up nicely. And then you can take your little thing and kind of like tuck it under again. You really don't have to overshape this at all, but just so it's kind of like a nice oval, because this will sit in the fridge a little bit longer to rest. So I'm going to put a little bit more flour on top. This is going to be the top of the bread. I'm putting it into the basket with the top Was that my bigger one? That was my bigger one. With the top down, the nice top goes down. I'm gonna seal this up a little bit more where there were cracks. So it doesn't look all that pretty. And then you just sort of, and it doesn't fill the whole basket, as you can see. You just kind of like fold it all up to cover it up, and it goes back in the fridge. And I'll do that with the other two, and that's that. And after that, it's ready to bake. Bye. Hola, me again. Okay, this is the exciting part. We're gonna put the bread in the oven. I have a piece of parchment. I'm cheap, so I reuse them, but it's about the size of my bread. I recently learned it's called a lame, not a lame, but that's the thing you guys gave me to, you'll see. And oh, here's my bread in the basket. I don't want to tip it too long because it's kind of like soft. Ideally, I would leave this in the fridge longer, so we'll see how it goes. So the first thing is you have to ever so gently get this bread onto the parchment, and that's where we could have stickiness issues, which we do. Okay, so this is not ideal. I washed my liners because I had been reusing them, and it's always hard to get the flour back in to nicely line it. But anyway, here's your bread. Now we're gonna do the fun part, which is kind of decisively score this. And I just always do like a cross. So you go like wham, wham. Doesn't have to be pretty, just kind of deep and decisive. This one is a little... Okay, I don't know how much we missed because I ran out of storage on my phone, so I don't know. Anyway, I have scored my bread. I hope you saw how I did that. It's got a nice